and Greg Rakestraw joining us right on cue. Greg, how are you, sir?
I can tell you had a nice, relaxing weekend because you started the show like 3 minutes early. You're fired up and ready to go.
Well, yeah, I thought we'd make a chance. I said, we don't have Greg enough time for Greg. I said, it's not, we got to, we'll deflate someplace else. But we got to get more time, get Greg on more. But how are you, man? How was your weekend?
My weekend was busy, but that's, typical for me, like 52 weeks a year. And saw some great high school football Friday night. Obviously, not the prettiest win ever, but it's a road win. First one of those for the season for the Indianapolis Colts. And 3-3 is a heck of a lot better than 2-4.
Absolutely. In high school, we're like 1 week away. Is it one more regular season game?
That is correct. So week 8 was Friday night. Pairing show was last night. So now these teams know what their postseason path is going to be. So week number 9 coming up this Friday, and then the 5As and 6As are off until November the 1st. 1As through 4As begin their sectional coming up a week from Friday on October the 25th.
It's here, baby. It's here, and it'll keep rolling that way. College is a little bit further behind that, especially with the bye weeks. But I got to tell you, Greg, there is nothing that's been invented better for me than the double bye week. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was glorious. I don't get to watch college football that much, and because when a game that you cover, it takes up your whole day. But man, it was fun, and there were so many good ones to watch over the weekend. But then the Colts desperately needing a divisional win, going to Tennessee and get it. Joe Flacco, man, it's going to be kind of hard, in my opinion, I know, to replace him with Anthony Richardson when he comes back, because he has just played phenomenally well, and he's put them in positions to win. Even when they didn't win the Jacksonville game, it wasn't because of a lack of offense.
Correct. And I'll say a couple things here. I would say of the now 3 games that it's almost been 3 full games that we've seen Joe Flacco, this was probably the least of his 3 performances. Finished with under 200 yards passing, was 22 of 38, did throw the interception that led to the first of the 2 Tennessee touchdowns, but he still made the key throws at key times. Second thing is I think this was a late week change of plans in terms of who's going to be the starting quarterback. And I say that just based off of reading body language on Wednesday when I was in the locker room. When Anthony was talking, you got the sense of, hey, this is the guy that's going to play. And Joe, being the veteran that he is, because he spoke right after Anthony did and basically said all the right things, but I can kind of tell the look in his face. Joe doesn't think he's playing this week. But thankfully, Joe prepared. Joe was ready. The call was made late in the week to hold out Anthony Richardson just for safety's sake for 1 more week and hand the ball to Joe Flacco. And again, without Jonathan Taylor, but with Josh Downs and Michael Pittman Jr., who are both very limited in practice this week, the Colts found a way to grind one out in Nashville.
Not only Michael Pittman Jr., I'm glad you brought that up, because not expected to play for most of the week. I mean, and makes one of, if not the biggest catches that they have on the day. I mean, how big was that catch? How the hell does he pull that down in the end zone?
That's kind of what Pittman does. And he is their biggest and most physical target. And sometimes I don't think they use him enough in terms of the red zone to kind of go get passes like that, which they absolutely did. But to tell the full story on Michael Pittman Jr., it was reported on Wednesday that he was going to miss multiple weeks, not by the team, but by NFL sources, and that, he was going to IR, but the Colts never made that move. And seemingly by the end of the day, Thursday, Pittman just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to play through this and see what I can do. He did not have as many targets this past week as he did the week before, but yet the number of snaps that he played was very similar. You would not know that Josh Downs missed Wednesday and Thursday with practice because he had 7 catches for 66 yards and he returned punts, and he was fantastic at it. He had 4 key punt returns in that game as well. So, that's one of the things that you don't often associate toughness with the wide receiver position, but that's something that's been talked about in terms of Michael Pittman Jr. I think both those guys displayed that in the way they played, playing through injuries a day ago.
Yeah, and Tyler Goodson, no one's going to make you forget Jonathan Taylor, but man, are they getting for a professional team, they always have backups, backup quarterback, backup this, but you don't expect them to play as well. Man, they're missing nothing when they dropped out either in quarterback or in the running backs room. That's the Colts it's amazing that they have lost some of the games they have because of the talent we know that they have.
I would say this, Jim, I think you're being kind to the running backs. Now, Tyler Goodson had a 33-yard carry. And
let's see. I think we lost Greg there, but we'll get him back. Well, it's good that can be kind to the running
backs. A quirky game. Both teams had a possession in the third quarter, and then both teams kept going 3 and out in the fourth quarter. It completely flipped after the Colts got that last score. But the Colts average, had 29 carries for 80 yards yesterday. They most certainly missed Jonathan Taylor as he missed a second consecutive week. And again, I think the hope is you come home on Sunday and JT is back on the field because the Colts offense, I thought, missed him significantly a day ago.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Now, what's next week? I did not look ahead on the schedule for the Colts. What do they have coming next?
So it's the Miami Dolphins. It is their only home game in the month of October. This is in the middle of a stretch of 4 road games in 5. And again, the way you look at your schedule going into the year changes so significantly during the season because of who's in and who is out. So this is the last game that Tua Tagovailoa has to sit. He is on the injured reserve. It's also the second consecutive week in which the Colts are playing a team coming off of bye, which I'm not sure that was, kind of the best scheduling by the National Football League. But frankly, the Dolphins without Tua are a completely different team. They went to Skylar Thompson, then Tyler Huntley, has gotten the ball the last couple of weeks. But the Colts know they are getting a Dolphins backup quarterback. So it is a Dolphins team that most certainly has plenty of weapons, but they don't have their quarterback right now. And that changes the dynamic completely of this football game coming up on Sunday.
Absolutely. And it's still as much as some of those losses that they have had, the one, losing to Jacksonville, losing to Houston, both are divisional games, hurt. They're still in it. It's early. It's too early in the season. And if they can play like they did on the road at Nashville, it still boggles your mind. How do you go down to Nashville and win, but it's like the Hex at Jacksonville. It's like, nope, it's just not going to happen here.
I will say this. I don't think Jacksonville's very good, but I think they're a better team than Tennessee is. I think Tennessee defensively is solid. Tennessee offensively is bad. And that is with, they went out and got veteran receivers, to try to help their young quarterback, but it's still a struggle for Will Levis. And he is dealing with an injury. And frankly, yesterday was the difference in having a young quarterback trying to play through an injury with a shoulder injury versus having a young quarterback not play through his injury with the oblique injury that Anthony Richardson is dealing with. We're 6 weeks in, Jim, and I still don't have a beat on what this Colts team is. This is the most week-to-week team I think I have ever covered in my years of being around the team. What I do have a better handle on, Jim, is whom they are playing. Business picks up after this week. So once you get past this week, the stretch the Colts have are at Houston, 5-1, at Minnesota, 5-0. The Bills come back here, and their record's a little bit less, but it's still Josh Allen. It's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. After that, you go to New York and the Jets, who aren't great, but you still think Aaron Rodgers at some point in time can capitalize on you. And then the week after that, it's the Lions, and we saw how good they looked yesterday. And then once you get past that, now you're playing kind of the back markers again for the rest of the season. You've got the Giants. You've got the Patriots. You've got the Titans again. You've got the Jaguars again. So while we don't have a beat on the Indianapolis Colts, for the most part, the schedule is kind of what we thought it would be. And when the schedule first came out in May, it was almost like, hey, if you can just be around 500 going to December, you've got the chance to pick up a bunch of wins from December the 1st on. I still think that's the case. I just know this. I'm happy the Colts won, and I think they've got another week to kind of figure it out. Once you get to Houston, you have to be a better football team because there is very little easy on that schedule, starting with Houston and all the way through Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. What's your schedule like coming up?
I get a little bit of a fall break during the week this week, which is nice. I could use it. But from a high school football standpoint, week 9 of the regular season, Carmel and Lawrence Central is my game on Friday night. Then it's the Indy 11 as they are 2 games away from their playoffs getting started. They have not officially clinched yet, but basically a draw in one of their last 2 games gets them in. Frankly, the results are likely to take place where enough teams behind them will lose a point at some point in time where Indy should be in. So back-to-back playoff seasons for the Indy 11. Then Colts and Dolphins on Sunday. So just kind of my typical Friday, Saturday, Sunday, even if I'm, Captain Sweatpants and chilling at home for most of the week.
Looking forward to that, I'm sure, as high school season is heading towards the playoffs. And then NFL is just basically getting started. The Pacers are just getting started. We got all kinds of things going on. College football, Indiana coming off of a big bye as well. I know you don't have a chance to follow much of the D1 teams because you're so busy, but it was a fun weekend, Greg, of Division I football, or the Big Ten, some really big games. Ohio State going to Oregon and losing. I still think Ohio State is the best team in the Big Ten. Boy, they had some clock management issues that in essence cost them that game. They could have kicked a field goal relatively easy if they could have gotten down and stopped the clock.
Correct. And obviously Will Howard, the slide happened about a second too late. Didn't exactly have a chance at that field goal. There is a very good chance that those 2 teams could see each other again here in Indianapolis coming up on December the 7th. But now here's the amazing thing. Indiana could beat Ohio State and potentially take their spot in the college football playoff. The fact that we can have that as a legitimate conversation here in the middle of October is crazy. Obviously, I heard your preamble to our conversation. I can't remember a bigger homecoming for Indiana. Maybe you would go back to like 87 or 88, those years where it was thought that Indiana had a chance. Really, it was Michigan State and not Ohio State or Michigan in which they were dealing with and trying to claim a Big Ten championship, but that's obviously a generation or 2 ago. And frankly, the Indiana football schedule is very much reminiscent of the Colts schedule. It is about to pick up. And so now we will start to have a much greater idea. Whatever happens from this point in time forward with this Indiana football season is almost a bonus, knowing they're going to be a bowl team.
Absolutely.
Indiana Hoosiers.
Absolutely looking forward to it. No matter what, it's going to be fun to watch it all play out. And we'll be doing that